Part 20. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 191. Wen Xiao glanced at Wen Mo. Xiao Mo was indeed recovering well. When he saw Wen Jianmin again, his eyes were less frightened and more determined. Wen silently stood in front of Wen Xiao with half of his body. In the past, it was his sister who protected them. He couldn't grow so big in vain. It was time for him and Wen Qi to protect their sister. In his mind, the man in front of him was no longer his father. He was a stranger more chilling than his enemy. Wen Xiao, go home and sit down when you have time. Wen Xiao's smile appeared on his face. Home? This is my home. You mean? Wen Jianmin looked unhappy. I mean, go back to the Wen family. After all, I am your father, so I still have to move around more. Wen Xiao burst out laughing, holding Wen Mo's shoulders, laughing so hard that Wen Jianmin's face became more and more disgusting. What's so funny? Wen Xiao looked at the people standing in front of him. They were covered with famous brands and were dressed in superior clothes. His face said, I am so condescending to show my kindness to you. You are still not grateful for accepting my precious kindness. You are too disrespectful. No, I was kicked out 11 years ago. I have been here several times in the past 11 years. Every time, it was not pleasant. The threshold of the Wen family is too high. We are not that ignorant to destroy what Mr. Wen finally built. A superior, peaceful life at the top. Wen Jianmin gritted his teeth. Girl, you are still so sharp-tongued. Wen Xiao said calmly, you should know me better. I should bring someone eloquent to help you speak today. Wen Jianmin surrendered, I'm not here today to quarrel with you. No one is a saint, and no one can do anything wrong. Just think of it as something I did wrong in the past. You, a junior, shouldn't be so fussy. Besides, he is your father, and the blood relationship is unbreakable. You should not be so hostile to me. Wen Qi, what the hell is this? Wen Jianmin, you. Wen Xiao educated Wen Qi, we have to convince people with reason and don't use swear words all the time in the future. Did you hear that? Wen Qi scratched his neck and said, try your best. Wen Xiao turned to look at Wen Jianmin, just pretend that you have done something wrong before. This is wrong. It should not be ignored, but it should be true. When your child is sick, what should a father do? He should be cured at all costs. Your own child, instead of worrying that your child's mental problems will affect your reputation and cold-bloodedly drive your wife and children out of your mansion. In the middle of winter, have you ever thought that maybe they have nowhere to go? Maybe without the kind-hearted Aunt Xiaojun to take us in, we might freeze to death in this developed modern society. Wen Xiao paused for a moment and then said, you said that as a junior, you shouldn't care about everything. That's not right. Whether you are an elder or a junior, you can talk about things as they are, and you don't need to rely on your elders. Wen Xiao, you. Wen Xiao then said, can we cut off the blood relationship? You are totally wrong. You personally cut off the blood relationship between us. When I asked you for 2 million to treat Xiao Qi and Xiao Mo, you couldn't wait. Do you still remember the document that I was asked to sign? I asked Sulu to send it, the document to sever the relationship. It was written in black and white. If Mr. Wen doesn't remember, I can go home and show it to you. The relationship between us is broken. It's been broken long ago. How could Wen Jianmin not be so angry that Wen Xiao was so angry that his mouth was filled with smoke? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 192. I say one sentence and you have 10 sentences waiting for you. Why are you so hot-tempered? If it wasn't so fierce, wouldn't my mother and brother be bullied? After all, no one would protect us. Wen Jianmin was furious. I won't waste any time arguing with you. Anyway, I came with good intentions. You can make your own calculations in your heart. After saying that, he threw his hands away angrily. After all, Wen Jianmin is rich. Although he is not from a top wealthy family, his combined assets must be over 100 million. He has a small position in Haikon's upper-class society. In his mind, he had shown good intentions. If Wen Qiao had a brain, he would definitely follow the lead. In the future, when he is in a better mood, he might even share some of his property with them. People will have a profit-seeking mentality. This girl Wen Qiao is not stupid. After she figures it out, she will go to him to please him. It was completely dark. Wen Qiao walked back holding the chestnuts and muttered, after talking for so long, the chestnuts have become cold and unpalatable. Wen Qi put his arm on her shoulder, you shouldn't have talked nonsense with him in the first place. Business is not going well. He wants to maintain the image of a loving father, but he comes to us again. He's dreaming. Wen Qiao, it is indeed a big spring and autumn dream. Back home, Su Yun was busy in the kitchen. Wen Qiao was a little worried, so she went into the kitchen and helped her mother. Did Wen Jianmin find you? The tomato and fish head soup cooked by Su Yun is full of fragrance. Cut the enoki mushroom into 2 pieces, push it into the pot, and turn to look at Wen Qiao. You're looking for me. You won't agree to him, right? Su Yun touched her head. Silly girl, he has hurt us so much. I will not let you go to the Wen family again to act out the scene of a loving father and a filial son with him. Wen Qiao was a little surprised. Why didn't her mother relent this time? Then why are you so soft-hearted towards your uncle? Su Yun sighed, the situation is different. When I was young, your uncle was very kind to me. He always remembered the kindness of his childhood and could not be cruel to him. Wen Qiao shrugged, after you married into the Wen family, you also brought a lot of benefits to your uncle's family. You have already paid back his kindness. Su Yun touched her head, you haven't grown up and don't understand yet. Okay, let's have dinner. At the dinner table, Su Yun nagged a few words to ask Wen Qi to wear more clothes. The temperature will drop tomorrow, so you have to wear a sweater. I'm not cold. Why isn't it cold? Isn't it a mortal body or something? The sweater is on your bed. Don't just wear a sweater that's empty and not warm at all. Wen Qi said helplessly, there is a kind of coldness that makes your mother think you are cold. As expected, the temperature dropped significantly the next day. In mid-November, the temperature in Haikon hovered around 10 degrees Celsius, but the air was humid and cold and damp. Wen Qiao put on a sweater and a red plaid short woolen coat, which was warm and bright. She thought the tomato and fish bone soup last night was good. Fu Nanli returned from flying back today for dinner, so she went to the supermarket to buy some raw materials and planned to make a dinner for him. Besides, she has already thought about the gift. She plans to donate money to build a Hope Primary School, called Nanli Primary School. It costs 500,000 yuan to build a Hope Primary School, which is of great significance. She originally planned to donate a physics building to the high school, but it was too expensive and she couldn't afford it. When she had money in the future, she would donate the physics building in Fu Nanli's name. Wen Qiao was still not very skilled at cooking, and accidentally cut his index finger while chopping vegetables, causing a gash. She didn't take it seriously. After sucking for a while, the bleeding stopped, and she continued cooking. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 193. When Fu Nanli held the captain's cap and opened the door, the room was filled with the aroma of food, and the smoke of fireworks would make people miss a space that was originally emotionless. There was an additional name called home here. On an early winter evening, twilight enveloped the kitchen, and he walked in casually, leaning against the door frame and looking at her. When Wen Qiao heard the footsteps, he turned around and smiled at him. "I'll be there soon." "Yeah," the man responded without moving forward. Wen Qiao murmured in his heart, feeling that Fu Nanli seemed a little strange. She put on her gloves and was about to carry the casserole. Only then did Fu Nanli step forward and take the gloves from her hand. "I'll do it. 2 dishes and 1 soup, all delicious and delicious. Are you flying to Munich or Helsinki this time?" "Munich, the last trip, will be completely handed over to Captain Luo, Captain Luo. I can't quite remember my name, so I'll just call him Captain Luo. Will it be easier after that?" He was a bit reticent today, and occasionally looked at her with a somewhat complicated look. His eyes glanced at the wound on her index finger several times, but he didn't say anything more. Wen Qiao was a little confused. "Are you tired from the long flight?" After dinner was over, Fu Nanli was washing dishes at the kitchen sink, and a bad idea suddenly flashed in Wen Qiao's mind. Was it the last time she took the initiative to find Xiao Cheng and made him notice something? Her actions that time were indeed too suspicious. How could it be possible that after just 2 or 3 days, she couldn't bear it and came to her door directly? It was quite reasonable for Fu Nanli to come to his senses and doubt her actions afterwards. Wen Qiao stood in the living room, looking at his tall back in the kitchen. After washing the dishes, he slowly squeezed out some hand sanitizer, washed his hands, turned and walked towards her. He approached step by step, and she instinctively stepped back, placing her hands on the back of the sofa, with no way to retreat. "It's getting late, I'll take you back." Wen Qiao's heart suffocated. He would have tried every means to keep her here before. Did he really discover something? "Oh, okay." Her voice was a little muffled. He was already walking towards the door, and she could only follow him step by step. The two entered the elevator with a safe distance between them, and they no longer held her in their arms all the time. After leaving the apartment building, he put her in the car and asked Lao Hu to take her back. But he himself did not get in the car. Wen Qiao's palms felt a little cold. Did he find out that she lied? The car started and the window was half opened. Wen Qiao quickly reached out his hand and said goodbye to him nervously. "Goodbye, goodbye." Retention, fear, and uneasiness were engraved in her eyes. There was a clear cut on the hand that she extended to greet him. Fu Nanli lowered his eyes. My heart suddenly suffocated. The car left slowly, and he didn't say goodbye to her. His face seemed expressionless. Looking in the rearview mirror, he stood there for a while, seemingly watching her leave. Wen Qiao closed his eyes and tried to calm his mind. Would he be furious if he knew the truth? Wen Qiao exhaled, and the soldiers came to cover up the water and earth. After that, Fu Nanli didn't contact her, and Wen Qiao's heart sank inch by inch. She went to class and practiced piano as normal every day, and outsiders couldn't seem to tell anything different about her. A person like her would not open her heart easily. Lu Yuyu, who was so angry, didn't even notice the change in her mood. Wen Qiao counted the time, day by day passed, and soon it was 13 days. Fu Nanli didn't contact her for 13 days, which was equivalent to a death sentence for her. It's 2020, I'm updating this early in the morning, and I want to say Happy New Year to you all as soon as possible. Thank you very much for your continued support. Let's continue to spend 20 years happily together. There will be additional updates during the day, please give me a recommendation vote. In addition, at least 40 new chapters will be released on the 17th, so remember to leave your monthly tickets to me. Love you, good night. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 194. She had no choice but to send him a message, let's meet in the evening, okay. Even if he found out that she was a liar, she had to go to him and accept the lingchi in his eyes. All to survive. At 5:30 in the evening, she came to Fu Nanli's apartment and rang the doorbell, because she was no longer qualified to enter directly. There was no response, so she squatted by the wall, waiting for him to come back. At 6 o'clock, the elevator door opened, and he saw the person sitting on the ground hugging her legs. His heart suddenly tightened. She looked like an abandoned stray cat in winter, pitiful and innocent. When Xiao stood up, the caution in his tone clearly visible, you're back. His mandibular muscles were slightly stretched, and his fingers rubbed the edge of the captain's cap. He looked at her for a while and then said, why didn't you enter the house? Wen Xiao's reserved smile made him feel extremely dazzling. She said, just take a look at you. I'll leave first. He stood there, motionless as a mountain, as quiet as a winter night, so cold that no one dared to say a word. Wen Xiao cautiously passed by him, and suddenly his wrist was grabbed by him. She waited for him for a long time, her fingers were cold. His hands were as warm as ever. Why is it so cold? As soon as he opened his mouth, Wen Xiao's heart suffocated. Waiting for you for a while. Why don't you go inside and wait? Wen Xiao didn't dare to look back at him, and said in a muffled voice, you haven't contacted me for a long time. I thought we had broken up. There was a long silence. Finally, the man held her hand tightly and pulled her towards the door. The sound of pressing the password was mixed with his deep voice. I've been a little busy lately and haven't been able to take care of you, he said. The door opened and Wen Xiao was pulled in by him. I have something to say to you. Before he finished speaking, his kiss fell. It was obvious that the person who had been surrounded by a cold body just now seemed to have been heated up by the floor heating in the apartment. This kiss was different from usual. Because he bit her. With a bit of ferocity and punitive undertones. After a while, Wen Xiao sat on the sofa with a good posture. Fu Nanli sat opposite her, leaned forward slightly, took out a tissue and put it on the corner of her mouth. Does it hurt? Wen Xiao wanted to nod, but he bit hard, which of course hurt. It doesn't hurt. There was humility and flattery in her eyes, which made Fu Nanli feel unhappy and lowered his eyes. You can say it hurts, it's my fault. Wen Xiao still shook his head, it doesn't hurt. The bleeding stopped, and seeing the wound made Fu Nanli feel heartbroken, and his face became gloomy. Wen Xiao stopped talking and then spoke, I have something to say to you. She wanted to confess to him, but the lie was buried deep in her heart, making her feel guilty after all. His rough thumb gently rubbed the corner of her mouth. No need to say anything, I will take you back. Ken. The look in his eyes showed that he didn't want to hear anything she said. Wen Xiao's heart started to tremble, and he pulled her out. When she went downstairs, she asked, then, can I still come to you in the future? She could no longer see clearly what he was thinking. We are boyfriend and girlfriend, why can't you come to me? The entrance door downstairs opened, and the night outside was as cold as water. Fu Nanli took her hand and walked out. Fu Nanli opened the car door for her but did not get in the car. Wen Xiao opened the car window and looked up at the tall man. At the Wensi Art Center on Thanksgiving night, our folk music club will have a performance. Do you have time to come and watch it? More updates are coming. Happy New Year, I hope everything goes well for you in the new year. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 195. Fu Nanli's hand stretched out in the air, and finally fell on her head, touching her gently, say more. The car left slowly. Wen Xiao felt very uneasy. Does Fu Nanli know that she lied? She must have known that, otherwise she wouldn't have ignored her for so long. But if he knew, how could he still be willing to let her stay with him? Shouldn't he be furious? She was really puzzled and didn't know if he would come for Thanksgiving. But no matter what, he is willing to let her stay with him, which is the blessing among misfortunes. When I got home, I bumped into Wenqi coming back from outside. The two siblings were walking in the alley together. "What's wrong with your mouth? Is Wenqiao having a headache? How should I explain it to my mother? Bite yourself? Will mom believe it? I accidentally bit it while eating." Wenqi chuckled softly, "You can bite it like this? My brother-in-law bit it, right?" Wenqiao was helpless, she couldn't even deceive Wenqi, let alone her mother. "Well, I'd better go back to school and stay for 2 days. Brother-in-law is too cruel." Wenqiao patted him on the head, "Shut your mouth, don't let mom know." "Don't worry, I'm always tight-lipped." I vaguely heard a voice coming from her house, "Suyun, why are you so shameless?" Wenqiao's expression suddenly changed. It was Zhong Hui's voice. She ignored the wound on her mouth and ran quickly with Wenqi. It was Zhong Hui who was in the yard, questioning Suyun with bared teeth and claws. Only then did Zhong Hui find out that Wen Jianmin had come to see Suyun again. He had clearly signed a document to sever ties with us before, but he came to see Suyun again. Of course she was worried. When Wen Jianmin proposed to divorce Suyun, Suyun persisted for a while and did not let go. And it was during that time that she acted as a talkative and relieved Wen Jianmin's worries, and then she succeeded in taking the position. The more dishonored a person is, the more uneasy they feel, fearing that everything they have finally gained will be taken away again. "Suyun, I really didn't see it. You are an old lady, but you are still so coquettish, and you turned around to seduce your ex-husband." Wen Qiao picked up the water ladle on the well and poured it over Zhong Hui's head. The cold water poured into Zhong Hui's neck, and she screamed in embarrassment. Wen Qiao threw the water ladle and looked at Zhong Hui with gritted teeth. "Who asked you to come here?" Zhong Hui endured the biting cold and glared at Wen Qiao. "Your mother is restless at her age. Wen Qi, keep your mouth clean." Wen Qiao looked at her with a sneer. "Who is the restless one? You are a mistress who broke into the house and came to your ex-first wife to make noises. You are indeed shameless and invincible. What happened in the past has long since passed. Now, I am the mistress of the Wen family. If your mother goes back to seduce my husband, that would be shameless." Wen Qiao's eyes were fierce and he went directly to the well to scoop water and splash it on her. "If we don't hit anyone today, it won't be worth it if the shrew starts to throw a tantrum and sue her. If we pour cold water on her, the police officers will just deal with it as a civil dispute, and she won't be punished." Zhong Hui rushed over and kicked over the bucket. Looking at her arrogant appearance, she had completely removed her pretense of being a wealthy lady. She was vulgar, arrogant, and unreasonable. "Then you can go home and ask Wen Jianmin whether it was my mother who found him, or whether he came to my mother on his own initiative. Besides, my mother has already despised Wen Jianmin. You regard this man as a treasure. In our place, no one takes him seriously at all. Mistress of the Wen family, if you dare to trouble my mother again, I will charge you with breaking into a private house." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 196. Zhong Hui said sarcastically, "Yes, your mother doesn't like Jianmin anymore, because she has no shortage of men around her, and her taste has become worse." Snap, the big slap that he had endured for a long time finally landed on Zhong Hui's face. Wen Qiao shook his hand and said, "I see that you have been looking for a fight from the beginning, so I will help you." Zhong Hui covered her face and her expression was distorted. I am your elder no matter what, but you dare to hit your elder, Suyun, your family is really crooked. When my sister was admitted to Yanjian University at the highest level, my brother won the Olympic mathematics competition, and my mother is hardworking and simple. Our family is kind-hearted and outstanding. The word the upper beam is crooked and the lower beam is crooked is more appropriate to give to your family. Wen Qiao looked at Wen Qi with relief. Not only does this kid not want to solve problems violently, but he can also choke people with his words. Brother social has become rational. Zhong Hui couldn't stand the cold anymore. Wen Qiao's ladle of cold water poured into her neck. If she continued to struggle, she would definitely get sick. Moreover, both siblings are sharp-tongued. They can't argue or fight. If they continue to fight, she will be the one who suffers. Originally, she only dared to come in when she saw that Suyun and Wen Mo were the only ones at home. Unexpectedly, the two siblings to come back so soon. She pointed at the family and said, a bunch of bandits with poor quality. After saying that, he ran away in a hurry. It wasn't until Zhong Hui left that Wen Qiao turned around and looked at her mother. Did she say a lot of nasty things before we came back? Suyun smiled. I argued with her for a few words, but you were the one who got the better of me just now. Wen Qiao was surprised. Did you argue with her? It's really gratifying that her mother, a weakling, has a day to argue with others. What's wrong with your mouth? Wen Qiao's heart skipped a beat. You may not believe it when I tell you. I took that stapler and was playing with it, but I didn't expect there were staples inside, and my mouth was sealed all of a sudden. With Wen Kai's look on his face, I watched you talking nonsense quietly. Suyun looked worried. How old are you? Why are you so naughty? Yes, it won't happen again. When Qi spread his hands, my mother was too easy to deceive. In Suyun's mind, her daughter and son were still young and would not lie to her, and she would not even think about the fact that her daughter was already in love. Therefore, Wen Qiao's words could deceive her. Zhong Hui hurried back, but she still had signs of a cold. After all, it was late November, and the temperature was very low at night. She was even splashed with cold water and stared at the wet clothes when she rushed back. She was already unconscious from the cold. She sneezed several times in a row. After all, Aunt Rong was a domestic servant and asked, Madam, let me make you some ginger tea. Zhong Hui didn't like anyone at the moment, and felt that Aunt Rong had always stood with Suyun and her family, so she glared at her. Go aside, you didn't see me bothered. Aunt Rong could only exit the living room. After a while, Wen Jianmin came back, but Zhong Hui was not overwhelmed by anger, and her tone was quite gentle. Jianmin, I heard that you went to find Suyun. Wen Jianmin frowned. Don't mind my business and just take care of your family's affairs. Wen Jianmin is very chauvinistic and feels that a woman should support her husband and raise children and should not interfere with his career. But why are you looking for her? Didn't they all sign the document to sever the relationship? That family is all greedy. Aren't you giving them hope in vain? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 197. It's all for the company. Okay, stop worrying about this and focus on Suan's homework. After saying that, he walked upstairs, obviously not wanting to talk more. Zhong Hui feels like facing a formidable enemy. Suyun is undoubtedly good-looking, much prettier than her, and even after more than 10 years of hard life, the years have not left many traces on her face. She looks better than her who goes to the beauty salon every now and then to take care of herself. The rich lady is still young, but she is simply dressed in simple clothes. If she wears fancy clothes, she will definitely be eye-catching. Men are always like this. Home flowers don't have the fragrance of wild flowers. Will Wen Jianmin look back and think of Su Yun again? This won't work, this won't work. Although Fu Nanli is a little weird now, he said personally that they are still boyfriend and girlfriend, and she can still go to him. Wen Xiao is somewhat relieved. Back at school, Lu Yuyu saw the wound at the corner of her mouth and her eyes lit up. Young Master Fu is very fierce. Wen Xiao clicked his tongue, go and practice the piano. Lu Yuyu stared at her lips, tisk, 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 like a wolf and a tiger. Wen Xiao covered her mouth, go and practice the piano, go and practice the piano. There have been a lot of rumors on the internet that Wen Xiao is Mu Yu. Every time she goes out, people passing by will point at her and whisper whether she is Mu Yu. During a break in piano practice, Lu Yuyu and Wen Xiao went to the toilet together. Lu Yuyu worriedly said, why do I feel that the comments online are weird? What's weird? Logically speaking, if you, the person involved, don't respond, the rumors about you being Mu Yu should gradually fade away, but the speculation on the internet has not faded away. No matter what hotspots appear on Weibo, people have always been talking about you being Mu Yu. You, please, you are an amateur, how can you get such a huge amount of traffic? Wen Xiao washed his hands and leaned against the old ivory white sink. There is someone behind the scenes who is setting the pace. Lu Yuyu, definitely, Su Lu. Su Lu. Wen Xiao frowned slightly, she still dares. Lu Yuyu chuckled, maybe the more frustrated you are, the braver you will become. Wen Xiao was non-committal. Lu Yuyu added, anyway, it's either Su Lu or Zhao Tong. They are two troublemakers. They probably don't know that you are really Mu Yu. They want to set you up as a person and then slap you in the face. On the other hand, you hyped it up yourself. Wen Xiao raised his eyebrows, it was possible. You know a lot. Lu Yuyu put his arm around her shoulders, please call me the king of routine. Back in the small hall, Chun Xiao showed her mobile phone to Wen Xiao. There were originally 38 people in the folk music department, but 21 were transferred to Western music, and the school approved it. Folk music, which was already neglected, almost suffered a heavy blow. Lu Yuyu was filled with righteous indignation, why should the school approve it? Isn't this just helping the tyrants to attack folk music? Then who of the students taking the college entrance examination next year will apply for folk music? Chun Xiao also felt aggrieved. The most depressing thing is that these people obviously relied on folk music to get into the university of their dreams, but as soon as they entered the university, they kicked folk music away. They just used folk music, and in the end they had to criticize folk music. It's not good, they are more annoying than people who study Western music themselves. Lu Yuyu gritted her teeth, the group of traitors represented by Jin Xian. I checked my phone and my face turned even darker. That's so arrogant. Jin Xian posted a photo of herself and Viola in the group, and someone showed me a screenshot of her friend's circle, saying that after almost a semester of hard work, she finally transferred to the department of her dreams. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 198. Lin Xiang raised his eyebrows, a villain. Wen Xiao, there are only a few days left, let's hurry up and practice. When I went to the cafeteria to eat in the evening, I met Jin Xian, but I didn't see Zhao Tong. Miss Zhao didn't come to the cafeteria to eat anymore, and she was cooking a small stove outside to avoid running into their group of bandits. Jin Xian walked with them to the dining table carrying the dinner plates, and said with good intentions, now the folk music department is struggling to support itself. I advise you to also transfer to Western music. The school should also encourage it. Wen Xiao smiled, I just hope that one day folk music will become popular, and traitors like you will stop licking your face and asking to return to the folk music department. Jin Xian was stunned and couldn't help but look Wen Xiao up and down, wishes are beautiful, reality is skinny, so I wish you that all your wishes will come true. Lu Yu, traitor, don't block the way, dirty the way we are walking. Jin Xian raised her eyebrows, don't be so critical of me. In this world, heroes are always judged by their success or failure. Their integrity cannot be eaten as food, and their self-esteem is not worth much money. After you graduate, you will find out that this society is cruel. Our graduates of Western music are in short supply whether they are performing or teaching. And your folk music department may only be able to hang out in some unknown small theater for appreciating folk music, with a sparse audience, and perform a performance. The income is not enough to pay wages. You will know when the time comes. What I said today is definitely with good intentions. Wen Qiao raised his eyebrows, excuse me, please take care of yourself first. Can you pass the viola exam? Can you graduate successfully? Jin Xian looked at the backs of those people and shook her head. She was really a tough talker and was completely hopeless. The day before Thanksgiving, they were almost done rehearsing. Lu Yu scrolled through her phone and said, tomorrow we will go to Wenxi Art Center for rehearsal early in the morning. Lu Yu is both the president and the stylist. What shall we wear tomorrow? Chun Xiao suggested, how about Chong Sam? Lin Xiang clicked his tongue, I'm not used to wearing that kind of wrap. Then you wear a plain gown. Lu Yu raised her eyebrows, aren't you a hanfu player? You don't even have Chong Sam, right? I have a best friend in high school who is at Fukai University. She likes to collect Chong Sams, and she has all kinds of Chong Sams. Fukai University happened to be right next to Yanjian, and the living areas were together. Cheng Xiao's best friend soon sent a large bag of Chong Sam over. This neutral style gown is for Lin Xiang. You wear the crescent white one, I'll wear the peacock green one, and Qiao wears this carmine red one. How about it? These cheongsams are extremely well made of velvet fabric, and faintly inlaid with gold threads. They are expensive at first glance. On the same day, Wen Qiao and the others took their costumes to the Wenxi Art Center. Not only was there a performance by Yang Yin, it was a small party with various programs. Wen Qiao and the others' program was scheduled second. Apparently the producers didn't think much of them, so they were arranged so high. When he saw Wen Qiao, the director's eyes lit up after the party. The girl was very beautiful, and the stage design could be a little more original. Build a hanging chair for the girl playing the pipa, and the opening lights hit her. It was very, arrests. The stage artist said okay, good director. During the rehearsal, he and Zhuang Yan met each other without looking up. Wen Qiao looked at him as if he were a stranger, with no trace of emotion in his eyes. All she could think about was Fu Nanli. Will he come? 4 updates completed. Please vote for recommendation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 199. Not sure if he will come tonight. That night, she asked him if he would come, and he said, let's talk. He probably wouldn't come. Wen Qiao felt a little depressed, so he went to the beverage vending machine in the lobby on the first floor of the art center to buy a bottle of coffee, opened it, took a sip, and looked outside. Wenxi Art Center faces the street. The sycamore leaves have almost fallen off. The asphalt road is clean and tidy. The road is narrow. Wen Qiao can't help but take a second look when cars occasionally pass by. Zhuang Yan stood on the second floor, holding onto the railing and looking at the people downstairs. Obviously, she was waiting for someone. Who are you waiting for? He naturally knew in his heart that it was nothing more than the eldest young master of the Fu family, and he couldn't help but feel a little troubled. If he had accepted Wen Qiao, What would have happened to Fu Nanli? The pain he had inflicted on Wen Qiao in the past was now returned to him in full. He felt that he was really a twisted person to the extreme. On the one hand, he liked her, but on the other hand, he couldn't let go of his own pride and pursued her instead. He is a person who is used to things going well. He has never tasted failure. Wen Qiao already has a boyfriend, and he seems to have no chance of winning. He won't do anything that has no chance of winning. But I am really unwilling to do so. So, he suffered in his own prison day after day, and the only person who suffered was himself. Wen Qiao stood at the gate, and the audience gradually entered the room. Every time someone came in, her heart would beat violently. Lu Yuyu's voice came, "Qiao Qiao, it's time to change clothes, the performance is about to begin." Wen Qiao was dragged backstage by Lu Yuyu and changed into a dark carmine velvet cheongsam. The Hong Kong-style beauty appeared on the page. The hazy and beautiful lady of the Republic of China in the old days was so glamorous that people couldn't take their eyes away. Lu Yuyu and Chun Xiao hugged Wen Qiao and said, "Lin Xiang, help us take pictures." Lin Xiang was helpless, "I really can't stand you." After the group photo was taken, Lu Yuyu still didn't let go, "My Qiao, you are so beautiful that I cried." Wen Qiao rubbed her face, "You are also very beautiful. Compared to you, my beauty is like the glow of a firefly compared to the light of the sun and the moon. I dare not compare, I dare not compare." Wen Qiao smiled helplessly, "Each has its own characteristics. There are 4 girls in their dormitory 502, all of whom are good looking." In the lobby on the first floor, Jin Xian and Zhao Tong entered the performance hall with 2 reporters. Jin Xian whispered, "There are a total of 12 programs today. After each program, there will be a short interactive session with the audience. 5 minutes, we have arranged for staff to give you the microphone at that time, you go straight to the point, directly ask Wen Qiao if he is Mu Yu, and then take pictures." The male reporter made an okay gesture, "No problem." Zhao Tong curled up his lips and said he would beat up the drowned dog tonight. The performance officially started, with Lin Xiang standing on the high platform, Wen Qiao sitting on a hanging chair hanging in the air, and Chun Xiao and Lu Yuyu sitting and standing. The headlights turned on, and a spotlight shone on Wen Qiao. "Ambush from Flying Daggers" is an exciting pipa song. As soon as the lights came on, Wen Qiao started to play the strings. People say that the pipa is the only musical instrument that can produce the aura of fighting and fighting. Wen Qiao played a few syllables, and the chilling aura immediately spread throughout the concert hall, and the audience felt goosebumps all over their bodies. Fu Nanli sat in the last row, staring intently at the girl wearing an ochre cheongsam hanging in the air. It's his girl. His eyes were a little complicated. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 200. There were whispers from the front row, "What a beautiful girl. I play the pipa really well too. I feel good playing the pipa, it feels very elegant." Fu Nanli gently twisted his fingertips and stared at the people on the stage intently. The light was still only on Wen Qiao, but in the darkness, the sound of the drums increased from weak to strong, and gradually became more intense. Everyone's hearts were in their throats, and the battle seemed to be unfolding before their eyes. The sound of fighting by the dark river seemed to ring in my ears. Immediately afterwards, all the lights on the stage came on, and a melodious flute sound came from the horizon, which alleviated the solemn atmosphere of the massacre. The guqin was loud, rich, as grand as a copper bell, and its overtones were as transparent as beads. 4 different musical instruments worked together seamlessly, creating climaxes one after another. This is an audiovisual feast. An exciting ambush from Flying Daggers came to an end, and thunderous applause erupted in the venue. This is different from that at Yanjian. Students at Yanjian admire Western music. Even if Wen Qiao and others perform well, they will not receive warm applause. The audience here is objective and impartial. Applause is the greatest affirmation for them. Immediately afterwards is a gentle, graceful, and sentimental song, Butterfly Lovers. Butterfly Lovers is a household name, and the audience resonates with it. They also contributed a super high-level performance, and bursts of applause filled the venue from time to time. Sulu also came. She was wearing a mask and sitting in the corner. Zhao Tong asked her to come over and said there was a good show to watch today. After her nose was injured, she couldn't bring herself to do anything, not even surfing the internet. But Zhao Tong said that Wen Qiao would make a fool of herself today, so she couldn't miss it. But when she arrived, she didn't see Wen Qiao making a fool of herself, only that she was in the limelight. The applause and praise sounded extremely harsh. Finally, the song Butterfly Lovers came to an end, and the applause lasted for a long time. Sulu couldn't help but rolled her eyes, a group of ignorant people. Finally, it was time to ask questions, and the staff handed the microphone to a man in a suit in the second row. The man stood up and asked directly, "Is this classmate Wen Qiao who plays the pipa?" The staff handed the microphone to Wen Qiao. "Hello. I would like to ask, what do you think about the fact that you are teacher Mu that has been widely circulated on the internet?" Wen Qiao's heart skipped a beat. Was this arranged by Zhao Tong and the others? Let her ride a tiger and be unable to get off? How come these people can't live without causing trouble for a day? Silence, at least half a minute of silence. It was a quiet moment. Zhao Tong and Jin Xian looked proud. Wen Qiao was neither admitting it nor denying it. If she admitted it, she would be slapped in the face by Hai Mao. If she didn't admit it, the netizens on the internet would definitely accuse her of hyping things up and putting gold in her own face. Sulu's expression turned serious. Is this what Zhao Tong said? Is there a good show to watch? Let Wen Qiao make a fool of himself? Somehow, she had a bad premonition in her heart. Wen Qiao had composed the song, and the song Sing Sing Bridge was her own because it was very popular in school. It shows that Wen Qiao has the ability in this area. She had been reluctant to think about this before, because she didn't dare to think about it carefully, and because she didn't want to have anything to do with Mu Yu and Wen Qiao. But now, the question came to Wen Qiao's lips. This made her a little panicked and she had to think about it. Is it possible that Wen Qiao is Mu Yu? Two possible. First, she can compose music. Second, Shang Fan clearly said that Mu Yu was a student of Yang Yin. Third, at the welcome party, Shang Fan and Wen Qiao performed together. Sulu's face was very ugly, her breathing was stagnant, and she looked nervously at the people on the stage. Hopefully she's overthinking it. Classmate Wen Qiao, are you teacher Mu Yu? The male reporter sounded a bit gloating, as if he was waiting to see her embarrassed. Wen Qiao's eyes were lightly closed, but suddenly, he raised his eyes to look at the male reporter and spoke firmly. Yes, I am Mu Yu. The whole place was in an uproar.